I didn't have a great time in high school. I just didn't really fit in.
It took me a long time. Like, I had my very, very awkward, like, cocoon stage.
I went to a high school for the performing arts, and there was a notice about auditions for this new kids show.
And then one day, my mom called me and told me, you got the role. And I just grabbed my bag and left. And man, what a wild journey that started.
Well, that was a look back at the new documentary about the powerful Canadian teen series Degrassi. It's making its premiere Saturday at TIFF. The doc explores the behind-the-scenes truths and legacy of the iconic television show.
Please welcome the cast and director from Degrassi, Whatever It Takes, Miriam McDonald, Stepto, and Lisa Rideout. Good to have you ladies on our sofa. Good to have you here.
This is so exciting for us. Now, I read Miriam, Amanda, maybe it was on Instagram, you haven't seen each other for 15 years?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what has it been like to reconnect, especially over this doc?
Well, I saw Amanda for the first time a couple of days ago, and we were filming this little segment in a park, and I literally waved over the fence. I was like, Amanda! And we ran up to each other. We were talking a mile a minute, mostly about our dogs, to be honest. But so much time had passed, and yet it felt like no time had passed at the same time. Picking up where we left off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we made the interview process half an hour behind because for like 20 minutes, we're like, oh, we forgot the reason we're here to promote the documentary.
No, that's lovely. Now listen, Degrassi has such a huge legacy and literally had its finger on the pulse of teen life for 40 years. So Lisa, when you were approaching this as a director of this documentary, where did you even begin? Like, where do you start with a project that big?
No, it is tough. I think the most challenging part is figuring out what will fit into the time constraints that we have.
Yeah.
So pretty quickly, we had our story producer, Kaylin Moon, watch every single episode of Degrassi. And we chose, the kind of like first episodes, the most controversial, to be the backbone of the entire film. And then kind of went from there. So there's obviously the Spike pregnancy episode. There's abortion episodes that happen. And those, formed like our underlying story. And that's how we decided who should speak in the documentary and where to go with it.
Okay. Can we talk about that Spike pregnancy episode? Because it was one of the things that I think Degrassi did so well, which is you didn't shy away from what teen lives were actually like. So you talk about this in the documentary, about the public reaction to this, and what was that like for you? What was that like for you offset? What was the reaction once that hit the airwaves?
We had so much, I'd say, positive reaction, right? There was some negative, but...
So you were, a teen, you were a teen and pregnant on the show.
I was a teen and pregnant on the show, and I mean, I was playing my real life age, right? So 14, 15, portraying, a young person that gets pregnant for having sex first time. And the amount of, I would say, overwhelmingly positive feedback on that particular storyline of taking it there, not shying away from it, having the point of view from a young person. I feel very honored to be a part of that because it touched so many individuals. And interestingly enough, I guess I did such a realistic job that I was getting baby clothes and stuffed animals and toys sent to our production company at the time to give to Emma.
Okay, can we talk about it? Because your character, Emma, was brought on later, Degrassi, The Next Generation, as Spike's daughter grown up.
Yes.
I love how everybody was doing the math behind the scenes to make this happen on the show. And so, the idea was, what was it about, the show that had teens on screen, played by real teens? This, I assume, means that there were a lot of firsts, as you talk about in the doc, a lot of your own firsts as a young person were happening on screen. For example, your first kiss ever. Can you talk to us about that?
So it might have been the most terrifying moment of my life at that point. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I watched episodes of other shows where there were kisses, and I was like, okay, is that what I'm supposed to do? I read magazine articles, Cosmo, for example. I was petrified. I was studying up on it, and I was just wanting it to be over. Thankfully, I think we got it in one take. So I didn't have to relive that too many times, but I was nervous beyond
I think
anything.
I saw your relief. We just played the clip, and I'm pretty sure we saw your relief when it was over.
That's a lot to deal with, and I understand that it was revealed in the documentary that the show creator would sometimes use the stories of the cast members, their real lives, like the divorce and deaths that were happening in the show. And I'm just wondering, looking back, did you ever feel like you were exploited a little bit because you guys were so young? Amanda, I'm gonna throw that question at you.
Sure. I mean, we all had different experiences, cast and crew alike, of when we look back on the show and how we dealt with it. For me, not as much. I knew it was a job. This was what I was a part of. I mean, we did take part, and I'm sure in your generation as well, we did have sessions at the end of the summer, at the end of a break, come back, and we did talk about our summers and things that were happening in our lives. So, I mean, yes, some of those storylines were plucked and put into that. For me personally, none of mine were, so maybe I had a different experience, but for some individuals that was hard to portray on screen, something that they were going through in their real lives.
Another thing that was revealed in that documentary that was really surprising was how little the cast was paid. And you have this huge show, and we're assuming that you guys are rich. What was the reality in the situation?
I think that the two generations experienced on-set life very differently. By the time I was on the show, everything was unionized. So my experience on set was very different from Amanda's. I think our emotional experience of, sort of being in the public eye at a young age is shared, but the on-set experience, I think, between generations was quite different.
Yep.
And Lisa, were you surprised by that?
I was, yeah. I hadn't read anything about that online necessarily before or seen anything in interviews, so I think we're just grateful that people were able to be open maybe in a way that they weren't previously and share their part of the story. And yeah, like Amanda said, there's different experiences, different generations. Everyone has their own story to tell, so I'm glad we got many different voices in the documentary.
Yeah, and the voice that we heard right off the top of that clip was, of course, Drake. You probably knew him as Aubrey. So, there was a time when fans only knew him as Jimmy on Degrassi before we knew him as Drake. Any remembering of him on set, especially in your next generation? What do you remember about those early days?
So I think Aubrey always had a charisma and like the sense of humor about him that kind of really stood out. But if I'm really being honest, I remember his mom. Like back in the day, our moms had to come to set with us, and they'd have their parents' lounge where they would go and they would sit. And I mean, shortly after, we could sign off on a on-set chaperone or something like that. But I just remember how sweet him and his mom were, and it's so nice to see that he still brings his mom into some of his stuff today. Yeah, I think that's what stood out for me.
That's for sure. What a great documentary, a trip down memory lane. So thank you for making it. Thank you for sharing. It's really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Let's tell everybody the world premiere of Degrassi, Whatever It Takes. It's happening on September the 13th at the Toronto International Film Festival. That is going to be a fun red carpet.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.